Sound like somebody coming on board.
I'm gonna call Larry real quick.
All right, hello, Mr. Chairman. We're just waiting to get Transdev on the line, and we'll be good, ready to go.
Okay. How many board members we have online?
The meeting.
Ms. Moon, are you on the
I
line?
wanted to make sure. All right, good deal, thanks.
Ms. Moon and Mr. Huggins? Not yet. Let me contact them.
Okay.
You mind calling Derek?
Who is that sign? It's not that bad.
No, sorry. I'm sorry, sir.
All right.
Speakers are that good.
Wait, no.
Okay.
No, it's just been a very hard month.
I know.
Of just getting all this stuff resolved and moving forward. I need to breathe a sigh of relief.
But we're not done yet.
Oh.
No, not quite.
No, we still have to get through the transition.
Somebody's coming on right now.
Carolyn Gleason
is now joining.
Welcome aboard, Ms. Gleason. Did you hear me, Carolyn?
Yes, I did.
On the COVID-19
Okay.
call? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moose. All right, bye-bye. Ms. Moose coming on. Let me get Mr. Huggins.
I just, he's responded.
Oh, he did? Okay,
Yeah, he
good.
said, what's up? I think he forgot.
And Mr. Fergus?
Well, he's not on
Mr.
the
Fergus
committee.
not on this committee. Ms. Mood, Mr. Huggins.
Who just joined? Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Hi. Oh, it was at 1 o'clock. Correct.
I'm
Who just
supposed to be
joined?
on here, right?
Yeah, this is the, let's see, are you on that ad hoc committee?
No, Let me get off of here.
You can stay if you want.
You can stay, but you can stay if you, yeah, we'd like to have you. Oh, by the way, Ron talking about how easy this meeting was, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, I want the service committee to know this. It's because of the hard work we did.
Thank you.
We had everything worked out, and I appreciate it.
Right.
I mean, we did a good job.
And we work
And
together to
well,
try to do it for the right reason. And that's the only way you're going to get it done. Do it for the right reason.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
Not yet. I haven't seen Smooth on here yet. We don't have a quorum yet.
I'll get off, Mr. Andrews, since I'm not on this one. I'm sorry.
No worries. Well, thank you for joining us.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
wish you a good
All right. Y'all
weekend.
have a good one. Okay. Bye-bye.
Will do. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Carolyn Gleason.
Is now exiting.
Lil Mood.
Is now joining.
Okay. All right. Welcome aboard, Lil.
Thanks. I'm glad we could go ahead and do this a little early.
Yeah, well, where have you been? We've been waiting for you, but you
Well,
dialed the wrong number? Did you dial the
I
wrong
was
number?
I was just waiting for it to be whatever time we were going to do it, 1 o'clock. So I walked away from where I was for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Well, what we had planned to do is roll right over, you know.
Okay.
From the
Okay. I
other
didn't
meeting.
realize
Yeah,
that.
but that's okay. That's it. We're ready to rock and roll. Anybody? Now we have a quorum now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm looking to see where my packet is. Let me find the right message.
Okay. Go ahead and find. Yeah.
Go
find your
ahead.
packet
You go
there.
ahead. I'll be looking.
It's what's the number on that thing? Friday
Derek.
19? I don't know.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Is now joining.
All right. Okay. At this time, I want to call the meeting to order. And we do have a quorum, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a quorum. So the next item on the agenda will be the adoption of the minutes. Of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. The motion passes. Agenda. We adopt the agenda here. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from June 12th, 2020.
I move approval
can I get a
as
motion?
distributed. I so move.
Second.
Can I get a second? Okay. All in favor. You did second it, didn't you, not Derek? Hello?
He did.
Okay.
Huggins.
All right. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Say aye when I call your name. Huggins.
Aye.
Mood.
Aye.
And Leaks. Aye. Okay. The motion minutes are adopted. Item 4, discussion of action items. And we got a couple of people who are going to be involved in this. But I'll just ask John to go ahead and give us start with item 4A. You want to start with that, John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I would like to have Larry give a summary of how operations have been this past week, especially this is the first week where we implemented masks on board buses. Larry?
Thank you, John. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
At 4. Okay, so, yes, we started officially on Monday this week, mandatory masks to be worn on the buses by all passengers and drivers. Over the weekend, we had installed dispensers, and so that passengers can, get a mask if they don't already have one where they're getting on the bus. We haven't had very many instances where people just absolutely refuse to wear them. We've had a couple of people who will get on and with a mask, or they'll get on and take a mask, and then, I don't know if they're forgetting themselves, but they'll take it off. And then they'll put it back on when the driver reminds them, and then they'll take it off. So, but it hasn't been a real big issue. The supervisors down at Comet Central have replenishment or a supply of masks. So when drivers come in, if they need to, they can restock there at Comet Central. And of course, in the evening when the buses go through the service line, they can get they'll get restocked when the bus gets serviced. So we're making announcements. We started making the announcements last Thursday or Friday, and we continue to make announcements because this is a new procedure or new Yeah, it's a new, it's a new procedure, I guess, that everyone has to wear a mask, right? So we are constantly reminding passengers and drivers throughout the day that they must wear a mask. And if they, simply refuse, then the bus doesn't move until they either put the mask on or they get off the bus. But like I said, it really hasn't been a terribly big issue. People seem to be complying pretty well. And we're keeping track of the buses that do run out of masks while they're out on the road. So it seems to be going well. We have new hand sanitizer dispensers that have been installed on the buses. And so, it's a good thing that we have not only the masks, but the hand sanitizer available to the clients, passengers. And yeah, I think that's about it. Did I miss anything, John?
No, I think you did fine. I
Well,
want to talk about how bus cleaning has been.
I'd like to ask one question.
Sure.
May I ask a question? Okay.
Sure.
I'm just wondering how you got an idea how many masks we've used since last week? Do you have any idea?
I think we started off with 10,000. Am I correct, John?
Let's ask Mr. DeChamps to answer that one.
Yes, we started off at 10,000, yes.
Right. And we went through, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leroy, but I want to say we went through like almost half in the first several days.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we did was, instead of just packing the dispensers, completely full, what we are doing is putting 25 in there to replenish to see if that's enough to last throughout the day. With, I guess, using the logic, if it's not packed full, sometimes people are more apt to take more than they actually need if they see that there is an abundance of masks. And if it's half full, then they might be more willing to just take the one that they need. So we're going to see how that works. And just like I said, instead of stuffing them to the brim, just putting in 25 every time they replenish them.
Does that work pretty well?
We have I heard a question, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
I just asked if that had worked pretty well. Was that working pretty well?
It seems to be. But we're keeping an eye on it. Like I said, we asked the drivers that to call in when they do run out of them, and then, like I said, they can get more masks at Comment Central if needed, throughout the day.
Well, John, Leroy, how we stand on the restocking? Because if we use half in 1 week.
We have placed a second order, so we got in another 20,000 yesterday. So we're fine, and we feel that based on the adjustments that Larry mentioned about not packing the dispensers, we think that will help also in people taking one as opposed to multiple ones. So we hope that every day when we have our call at 4 o'clock, we kind of reevaluate that. And it just seems like it'll help us control our inventory better in the future, and we'll be able to provide the masks that we're getting over a longer period of time, and especially the 45 days that we commit to. So we think as we make adjustments there, we should be pretty good. And the vendor assured us that they will be able to provide us the masks as we need them.
Larry, this might be a question. Do you have any idea how many people are coming with already wearing their own mask? Is it mostly, or most of the people don't have masks when they come on? I'm just kind of wondering how that is going. Do you follow me?
That's interesting that you raised that. We haven't really been keeping track of that, but I noticed that when I watched the videos and have been at the transit center, there's a fair amount of them, that have masks on, but like, not just the transit center, but anywhere I go downtown in Columbia, almost
Right.
nobody is wearing a mask unless they are going in somewhere, but just walking around, they don't have them. But a lot of people have them on.
Walking down the street, I mean, nobody's close to you. You probably don't need to wear one. But getting on a bus or going in the transit center or something like that, I was just wondering if they were bringing their own mask. Well, that's good. Good to know that lots of people are bringing them. That make our supply last longer. Okay,
Well,
that's all I have.
Chairman, I can't resist chiming in that when the new cases are nearly 1,000 per day, I think maybe I'd have second thoughts about walking around in a crowd downtown without a mask.
Oh, in a crowd I would, but if I'm on the street by myself, Well, I live out in the country, so yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're right. You're right. You need to mask. You need to mask downtown. And we're gonna get to that a little later on, aren't we, John?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that a little later on. Anything else? Go ahead. Anything else from Larry? If not,
Rick Silver.
Do you have any questions
Is
for me?
now
But I don't
joining.
think I have anything else.
okay. Thank you, Larry. That's it.
Welcome.
Who's next? Who's next? Did you say anything else?
Mr. Silver just joined the line.
Okay. Larry, did you finish?
Larry, would you want to talk about vehicle cleaning, how that's going?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, John, you didn't mention that. So the vehicle cleaning is going well. They are cleaning seats, but, they're not done with all of them. There are still lots of them that need to get cleaned. There are some seats, like driver seats, that need replacement covers to be put on them, and they're working on that as well. But the cleanliness seems to be going really well. And again, I just attribute it to having that extra layer of supervision at night.
Okay. Anything else? You still there?
I'm here.
Okay. My phone made a funny sound and I didn't hear anything, so I'm glad it didn't turn off. All right. So, any questions for Larry from anybody? Hello, John.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're here.
Oh, okay.
So there's no question on vehicle cleaning. I'll just like to ask Mr. DeChamps to talk about how testing has been and our efforts in doing the thermometer check.
Okay. On the testing, this past week, Lovelace Family Medical, they were in again on Wednesday and Thursday to continue the testing with our operators, and I think we got a pretty good turnout for those. What we did find out is, based on all the different schedules, we were still kind of missing some of the operators, and I think some of them were in our paratransit area. So what we've done is scheduled another date with them to come out to finish the testing, which would be this coming Wednesday. And instead of starting at 8, they're going to start at 9, maybe 9 till 11, to try to pick up other operators or any other employees that they may have missed. So they've scheduled in doing that next week. So that
Leroy?
Yes.
Leroy, I'm sorry. We had a discussion after we had talked about changing the time. We actually decided to have them come in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we made that decision after you left, and I'm sorry I didn't update you, but we got together and decided that in the middle of the afternoon they're going to come between 2 and 4, because we have people that are getting off their morning shifts, and then we have people that are coming for their afternoon shift. So we feel that we're going to get a lot of these drivers that we've been missing.
Okay. Well, which is great. I appreciate you all doing that, because I know based on the scheduling, you probably could have made a better assessment of that than I could. So definitely appreciate you all doing that and making sure that we get everyone that we needed to. Also, continuing, and actually this week, with the temperature kiosk, we did basically place the order for that through Colite Industries, which is right here locally. It could be a 2 to 3 week time frame as by the time we get the kiosk in. But once we get it in, we will work through with staff and coming up with what we need to do and the guidelines we need to put in place where we can position that at the entrance where anyone that comes in the building will have their temperature checked. And when we say that, that's employees or any vendor or visitor that comes in the building, that will be accessible to them. So hopefully in the coming weeks, just based on their turnaround time, but we have placed the order for the temperature monitoring kiosk. And the other thing, and I know Larry pretty much mentioned on it as far as the COVID-19 policy, basically in enforcing that this week with our riders is again the focus there is safety for our riders and also for our operators. And we made a lot of adjustments again throughout the week to make sure that we had the right inventory and making sure that people only or riders only get one. And I think as we went through the week, our operators were more involved in situations where they felt like some riders getting more than one mask, but also to just getting involved when they don't wear them, letting them know that, the bus can't continue or they can't continue if they don't put on a face mask. So I think as we go and as we make adjustments, it seems like it's getting calmer. And I think more than anything on the front line with our operators, with them getting more involved and supportive of the process. And also to just making sure that they know if someone says for some reason that they can't, that they have an avenue that they can take as far as a reasonable accommodation. If they say they can't wear a mask, then there's an avenue for that, which they could go through, for example, if it's paratransit through Dr. Prince, and it's a vendor or someone else, they would have avenues to come to myself if anything that we have to review. So that policy is in place, and like we said, we're trying to be flexible and adjust as we learn different things throughout the period. But I think overall it's been received very well, and I think for us stepping up and being proactive and providing them for the next 45 days, I think will be, I think in a sense, and I know John will talk about this later, or we'll talk about this later, as far as I think how this ties into what the city of Columbia, what they're proposing and what they're considering. And I think if they pass their ordinance, then I think that reinforces ours, and it makes it a lot easier for us to enforce our COVID-19 policy also. But I think it's kind of setting the stage, I think, for the environment that we're in, and also definitely for the city, and just showing people that we are concerned about their safety, and not only about our employees, but just the general public. And to be in a proactive role, I think is a better position for us as an organization.
Very good.
That's it.
Leroy, I want to ask you one thing. On the thermometers.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to monitor the thermometers? Is the security guards or who?
Where we have to place it, it would have to be people. Say, for example, where our window is down when you come into the visitor center, right there on the left. We hadn't worked out all of the total guidelines we will put in place, but that would be the main place that it would be monitors is from whoever the receptionist, whoever is in that window. As we get into, as the system expands, it has different features where we're hoping that, for example, when someone comes up and it says, okay, your temperature is at whatever level we decide based on the CDC or DPAC, then it will alert us or the person at the window, but also maybe we can have it send a message to, whether it's myself, the HR, or someone else. We'll have to identify those people.
Yeah, yeah, I understand, but but you know, some people might walk up and find out that temperature is 101, and they still want to come on in. I was just wondering who would see that. So you saying security would see it, and security would be the one to flag those people on the spot. Otherwise, they might just come right on in and go where they want to go if somebody's not down there checking on them. That's mainly what I was thinking about.
Well, and it might be something we have to look at where the placement of it is, like I said, that we have to consider also. But with the kiosk, it would have an alarm and a message to alert us or the person there at the front that that person shouldn't continue on. Okay. And that's something, we definitely, certainly that we'd have to look at is if for some reason someone wants to continue on, what do we, at that point, what do we want to do, or what do we have in place to keep that person from entering?
Mm-hmm. I follow you. You got it under control. Sounds good. Okay. Anything else from Leroy?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that Leroy's right that you really do have to walk through this in the details, because what you don't want to do is to start something and have the staff uncertain of what to do next. You know, when you have to have those scenarios played out so you can say, if this happens, then this is what our response will be, because I don't want to put the staff in an awkward situation, but we also know it doesn't do a bit of good to test unless we stop the exposure when we find something that shouldn't be there. So, so I'm glad that I applaud you working through this really in a lot of detail in terms of exactly what are we asking the staff to do if somebody shows up and their temperature is over, I think they're saying 100 Fahrenheit. But anyway, whatever the measure is and whatever, that we know what to do. You know, can we, here's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. Can you say, would you step outside, you know, put your mask on? Can you stand at a distance from me and tell me what it was that you needed to do here today? Because if it's something that you can respond to and let them go on, but you need to alert them that they have a fever and to advise them to seek medical care. I mean, we can't take on giving the medical care to everybody, but do you see what I'm saying? If they say, well, really what I came to do was pick up this piece of paper, you know, somebody might be able to get that to them and hand it to them and then give them the advice to seek medical care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think also too, I hope as we work through this again, you try to find others that have utilized the kiosk and kind of look at best practices there, and hopefully we get feedback and direction even from COLITE, the vendor, as far as what they see, or whether they use it at their facility and things like that. But yeah, it's one of those areas that was kind of like uncharted waters for us, but we want to be as complete and thorough as we can.
As prepared as you can be, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Any other questions or points? Okay. All right.
How are you? I just want to ask a quick advisory comment. How are you feeling with these efforts that have been done in the past month?
Are you asking the chair? Are you asking the committee?
I'm asking just the committee in general.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the steps that we're taking. I'm interested too in the results of the testing, whether we've picked up any positives among our staff, and I know that that's on our agenda is what do we do if we do pick up a positive. So, but have we gotten any positive reports on our staff?
Mr. DeChamps, can you answer that?
We've had one that come out from our staff. It wasn't through the testing through Lovelace Medical. We did have an employee that was tested through Lovelace Medical, and at the time they thought that before they came back to work, they should go get checked and tested. And from that result, it was positive. And based on that, quite naturally, the employee hadn't been back to work or to the building. We did have, I did talk with all the other employees that were in the office that may have had any type of exposure or conversation with them to make sure that they were okay, or whether they felt like they had been exposed or needed to be out. And based on my conversation with them, well, and let me back up. We did have them come in and clean, sterilize, fog the offices and all. And like I said, that employee had to be on quarantine for 14 days.
Okay, thank you.
So that employee was quarantined for 14 days, you say?
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you, Leroy. Thank you for making that presentation to us. Very good. So I guess, John, what we do, we need to move on to the. So that, I guess that took care of 4B. What would happen if someone did test positive?
Well, no, I actually would like to have a conversation with you. I have Rick Silver from Chernoff Newman, our public relations consultant, on the line. And just would like to have a discussion with the board on if someone at the comment, whether it's a rider, an employee, a contractor, was to get COVID-19, how do we address that from a public relations standpoint? I've given you some examples from a transit agency I previously worked at, Yuma, Arizona, where their transit director notified the media of the situation and what efforts they did to mitigate the situation. And I've seen other transit agencies do the same, but I think we need some direction on how do we handle this. So I'll turn to Rick Silver, see if he wants to kick it off, and then we can have a discussion.
Very good, and good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, y'all. And by the way, I've been listening the last 10 minutes on the previous conversation, and y'all are having the conversation that we're involved in with clients in different business segments all over the place. Everybody is learning the experience as they go, and then adapting their protocols as we continue to get new learning. So this would be the communications advice that I would give to the board. Obviously, y'all got to determine if it's a policy or not. The strong recommendation is to be as transparent as possible. Both the reality and the perception of transparency is becoming more and more important in the whole experience we're dealing with this thing. It creates a stronger bond of trust and confidence, both with employees and with customers / riders, etc. We have been dealing with this with several different kinds of clients, most particularly Lexington Medical Center that's just had 2 practices where they had some employees come down with or diagnosed with COVID. In the general blocking and tackling, what we would recommend would be something like as follows, that once you have identified somebody, and I'll just use this anecdote as a driver, we would communicate in a simple release communication that a driver or drivers have been identified as having contracted COVID-19. The driver or drivers are at home in quarantine. We make a statement about the equipment has been taken offline and is being sanitized, etc. All other staff members who have all other employees and staff members who came in contact with said employees have been notified, and now the recommendation would have been sent into quarantine pending testing. And then if it was a case of, say, a particular route or a particular day, it might be a notice as an FYI you alert to as some kind of a poster of the riders. But we have found that the more forthcoming that we are with incidents, and by the way, unfortunately, I hate to keep using this term new normal, but it's kind of coming expected, if you will. It doesn't hit the highlights, and there is much greater risk of bad PR, if you will, by not disclosing things. You don't have to disclose every detail. Now, by the way, every time we have to do this, and from everything I'm learning from all the different people we work with, particularly the hospitals, we got more coming, not less. It's going to be more incidences, not less, of these kind of things. By the way, the restaurants are finding the same kind of thing. They're going to be opening and closing with this. Is whenever we put out this communication, we also restate all the things we're doing towards safety, both for our employees and our riders.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever miss the opportunity to repeat and replay all the steps that we're taking.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that is very, very oversimplified. I can't give you detailed statements because each one needs to be customized to the situation. But what we can, if y'all find there's a soundness, and if you agree with the policy toward maximum transparency, then in any situation, we can work and support staff with John and everybody, John and Pam, and then we can get down to the details of what's released. But the general thinking is you do it quick and you be transparent.
Ms. Owen?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm in strong favor of that, just what Rick's described in terms of being very transparent and being forthcoming and being ahead of the game in terms of saying what we know and what we are doing, because I think nothing makes people more anxious than to feel like something is being withheld from them, some information that's being withheld from them that may affect their health. I would say, Rick, I was listening, and I know that you weren't saying exact wording, but a couple of things that caught my attention. One is when you say anyone who's been in contact with the person, I think we may need to be a little bit more specific than that, because and you can get the right language from the public health folks, but to say something like we're identifying anyone who's been in close contact with the employee for 15 minutes, for 15 minutes, and we're following up with those people, and we're following up with DHEC with those people so they can be followed for contact tracing. So we aren't taking on the contact tracing ourselves, but we need to have that link in there so they get followed up. And then I think we can say something like, if you believe that you had close contact with this person for a period of 15 minutes and we haven't contacted you, please get in touch with us, so that people can say, because otherwise, if you just say came in contact, well, you'd say, well, everybody rode his bus. If it's a driver, everybody rode his bus for that day needs to show up. And that's not what we're talking about here in terms of really transmission. So I know you don't want to get too detailed, but I think, for example, that if I got from the rear entrance of a bus, I got on and got off on my ride, and subsequently the driver was identified as we don't want everybody that got on the bus in the back and got off on the back to have to be tested or quarantined. We want it to be realistic without being too restrictive.
Lil, you're spot on, and you're right. I just didn't think y'all would want to get into the drill down of all the different iterations of that.
Right.
And of course, we used a regular routed bus. Say, for example, if it was a DART where there is closer interaction and contact, that would be a case where, for example, the communication protocol would be getting to everybody who you knew had an interaction with that driver. You would be notifying them. And by the way, in our communication, we would say we were doing that. So that's what I meant about it. I was trying to give the overscope for you.
I got that. I just didn't want us to miss that. Right.
Yes,
I got that.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and I think too, for the staff, I want that. How do we link with the public health authorities? To be clear. When is it that we contact? When is it that we contact them and give them a list of names we've identified for follow up and contact tracing? I mean, because they'll know how to do that.
That's correct.
So we don't. Right. Okay. And thank goodness they are gearing up and are gearing up to actually do that. So.
I'm just wondering though, if a driver on Route 61 comes up positive. Now, what we're gonna get on TV or get on the newspaper or however they do it, and let everybody know that we had a positive case on the comment system. I'm just wondering what good is that going to do, really. I'm just, especially if we've identified that person, taken them out and gotten them quarantined. I'm trying to figure out why should I have people over in Lexington or over in, Blythewood or wherever upset because some driver. I'm just. What do you think?
Let me give you the answer. It's not so much of what you get out of communicating. It is the risk of not, and when the rumors get out, and if as an organization you lose trust that you're concealing information or not sharing it, that's a tough hole to dig out of. We are also finding, and as bad as this sounds, because it's coming unusual, I would bet you, the old cliche I used to use was $1 to a donut, but the trouble is a donut costs more than $1 now. But
that's right.
But in that case, right now it is getting so unfortunately unusual that even when we put the release out, that's what I'll bet you the $1 for the donut that it won't even get played for the most part, or it will get buried. But the more important thing is that you had put it out and you disclosed it.
Right. Yeah, and Mr. Leaks, I think that it's not just a matter of saying that we've found that someone was positive, but that it says that we are following up with every person who's been in close contact with that person to be sure that they are can take appropriate action or whatever the wording is. But in the communication that we found it, we say something about what we're doing about it. That person's been quarantined, and the people who've been in close contact with them are being followed up, so that people don't have to sit there wondering.
Mr. Leaks, before you know it, like say there'd be one driver, but enough people know it, they start telling other people, that old whispering chain. Before you know it, you'll have a feedback that we heard over half your drivers have gotten COVID. It just blows up in this environment. So it really, it truly is. It is less of a good communication thing. It's a covering you for defensive purposes.
Okay.
And we talked about in an early meeting. We talked about the kind of contact too, like in the driver's lounge, and so I don't know if we're doing anything different there. But I mean, because we didn't want to think that if a driver was tested positive, that meant every single other driver that was ever in the lounge was at risk. Right. So I don't know whether how we are handling the interactions in that area. Are we doing anything different there?
All I can do is share you this, at least of another protocol related to Lexington Medical Center at a physician's practice facility. If there's any identification with staff there, they test all the staff who work in that facility.
Okay.
Okay. But Leah, one other question. I heard you
Colonel
mention
Leaks.
15 minutes. Yes. Yep.
Okay, Rick Silver, I really appreciate you giving that report. And but one of the things I really would like to do is look at how other agencies are trending, and how our national organization is trending also. Trajectories are being based on plateaus and apexes, and I don't know what those numbers are, but at the same time, I do believe in transparency, and I believe that Rick Silver was saying exactly how we need to go. We need to make sure that we are transparent and to make sure that we put out information ahead of time. But at the same time, let's not get ourselves on an island to a point where we're not responding based on the national responses.
Yeah,
and very good.
The only answer I can give you to that, from the other meetings that we've been in on, there is a lot of expectation for a lot of upward trending over the next 3 weeks.
Well, Leo,
Yeah.
I heard you mention 15 minutes a couple of times.
Well, I've just heard that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, that's just what I've been reading in some of the material in terms of how the kind of boundaries that they're putting on what is it that needs to be followed up as a close contact.
Okay. Well,
So I mean, that it's not hard and fast, because if you walk up to somebody and they cough directly in your face, I mean, you don't need 15 minutes of that, So it's not hard and fast, but but neither is it that that everybody that walked past the front of your store that day was in close contact. It's not that. You see the difference?
I follow you. Okay. All right. Well, that gives me some relief too, because if somebody looked at me, I figured I had it. So he looked at me, I might have it.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Well, and the fact is that, I mean, the terrible dilemma that we have is that that in fact you might not get it from that look, but you might have been with 10 other people who were infected that day that you didn't even know about.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So,
any other?
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, may I ask that Mr. Silver, can you put together just some guidelines for us to in a paper form that we can share with the committee next week, and then that on a recommended process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then Mr.
That'll be good.
We could share that with the committee, and provide we have concurrence, then that could be our process for.
Yes, sir. With the front end kind of thing, that it's going to be very, very broad as steps, because you really have to get into the customization of each instance on specifically what you say.
Right.
But very broad as a strategy concept and when to do what.
Right. Right. You can't handle every situation, right.
Well, let Rick.
And Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing I want to commend Mr. Silver on is he just knowing that the trends are going to change week to week, day to day, and you can't get a customized type of situation in this situation. I want to commend Mr. Silver on how he's structuring this thing.
Yeah, I will tell you this. We are working with the State Department of Education on how to come back in the fall, and helping them work on how to pull it into a communications vehicle. And of course, they've got contingencies for contingencies. And the protocols that we're trying to do a synopsis of or make more user-friendly is 202 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get too deep in this thing, you really, it is so volatile. You've almost got to have a principle of how you're going to do it, and then deal with it, because the contingencies are almost unlimited to the mind.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
All right.
I would say to that, and as we watch the numbers in South Carolina, the reality is that you will be encountering more and more risk every time you go out, as long as those cases keep going up. And so,
Yeah, I agree with that.
your risk this you go outside or into the society is greater than it was last week, because there's more infection in the community, and we know that. I mean, we have the numbers that show that. So
Right.
we're in, the tough part of what Rick's trying to work with us and other places is that you're trying to put something into place to respond to a situation that's getting worse.
Yeah, it's rough, but okay, we got to learn to live with it, and I think that's what we're doing. Anything else for Rick? Okay. All right, Rick, you know what we want you to do in terms of
Yes. Yes,
okay.
sir. Thank
Very
y'all,
good.
and as always, thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you much. Same here. Good day.
Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. All right, bye. Okay, John, let's move on to the next item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. So I've given you a copy of the latest executive order from the state of South Carolina that has extended the state of emergency for another 11 more days. So
Rick Silver
is now exiting.
So based on current approval from the board, we're still doing a suspension of fares, and we're still operating on an enhanced Saturday schedule. So we'll see closer to the end of the month. I believe that 11th day the 15th day will end sometime around June 24th to see what the governor does. However, the city of Columbia on June 23rd is calling a special meeting to adopt an ordinance that requires anybody in public to wear a mask within the city limits of Columbia. So that includes both on the Richland County side and the Lexington County side of Columbia, and it also includes those waiting or using public transportation. And I wanted to bring this to the committee's attention and gather any comments or feedback, or if we need to mention anything at the city council meeting on the 23rd about this proposed ordinance.
Well,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Lil.
Well, I've been reading that with great interest, and I think it's going to take some courage for city council to do it. But I think they are on the right path. I think the idea that we can watch these numbers go up and up and up, and just say, well, everybody look out for yourself. I mean, that is just. I mean, that's not being responsible, I don't think. And so I know they take something hard if they decide to pass this, but I think for us, it really does reinforce the decision we made to say if you ride public transportation, you have to wear a mask. It will be a good affirmation that we were taking the right action that we took. And so in that sense, I think it will help. It will help us.
Lil has it right now, Derek. Go ahead, Lil.
Now I'm done.
Hello? Liz?
I think you
go ahead. Oh, you finished? Okay. Okay, we recognize you. Derek, go ahead.
I concur with Ms. Mood.
Okay, I agree. Any other points anybody want to make on this? Okay. All right, John, you got any follow-up on that, John? Anything what you want to say? Anything else?
No. So if this was to pass, then it definitely adds more enforcement abilities beyond the no trespassing rule that we're going off of in relation to holding people accountable on the common system. 55% of the common system operates within the city of Columbia. So, and the large, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large majority of our ridership is also within the city of Columbia. So this ordinance would affect a large number of our riders. But consistent with our policy that we've adopted, it will be system-wide. So regardless of jurisdiction, people using the common will still need to have a mask. So we'll keep the committee posted next Friday on what action the city council takes.
Great.
All right. Okay, that completes item 4, Charlie, 4C. The next item on the agenda is item 5, which is adjournment.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, I just want to add really quickly is with either within next week or the following week, I should have the final quote for driver barriers, and then I'll be asking the committee for direction to recommend to the board and the finance committee in relation to that.
All right, that sounds good. I'll be glad for that to happen. Okay. Anything else?
Adjournment.
Can I get a second?
Well, one quick, Colonel Leaks. One of the things that you said that you want to check into to see about the mask and what it's going to cost if we go into this ordinance with the mayor and we got to have more masks on in supply. So if we would staff just in a situation just to look at the numbers again on what it would cost to have those kind of masks in supply.
What you think? Are you saying you think we might can get some from the city?
How would ours increase if we already require it? How would that affect us? How would it?
Well, I just want to make sure that if we're in the situation we have to go to duration, then I want to make sure that
go
we
longer.
have. Yes.
Longer
than made that suggestion before, so I want to make sure that we just evaluate what the numbers are and what it would cost.
To go beyond that 45 days that we originally were aiming for.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Good point. Great point. Yeah. All right. Anything else? All right, then we have a motion for adjournment. Can I get a second? I second it. Okay. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good meeting.
Thank you,
I appreciate it, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you.
Okay.
Out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good afternoon, good weekend.
Multiple people are now exiting.
I'm gonna go eat lunch. What are we gonna do with ourselves, John? Are you going anywhere this weekend?
No, I'm staying here. Next weekend, I'm going to Vegas to go look at the bus route.
Unknown participant is now exiting.